should probably stop drinking coffee. I kind of stabbed myself in the eye before while trying to apply makeup, so my eye still feels really funny. Yeah, I'm not sure how that related to anything at all.
Hey guys, and welcome to episode number 56 of the Happy Knitting Podcast. My name is Julia, I'm coming to you from Germany, and today is the 14th of September 2016. I'm recording this for the about 100th time because everything seems to not work today. It started with our Wi-Fi not working, and trying to fix it made it a lot worse, and it is supposedly getting fixed, but no one has fixed it so far. So I'm already kind of stressed out by that, and I was trying to work, but then realized that some of the data that I needed was online and I couldn't access it. And yeah, it started off really great, and then I recorded pretty much the entire episode and then realized that something was wrong with the sound. And not something that you can fix by maybe upgrading the sound, but something that went like beep, 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 beep through the entire episode. So I'm trying to record today. At least now I have lots of practice, you would think. I'm also drinking lots of coffee, and I definitely need it. So this is a knitting podcast. I'm sorry to anyone who is new and might not be used to the craziness yet. I feel like lately I've turned it down a little bit with the crazy stuff not working thing, but today seems to be a very jumbled episode. I still hope that you will like it. If you're watching for the first time, please give me a chance. And if you do like it, I would love for you to maybe go to the Ravelry group and introduce yourself or become a subscriber. And for those of you who are coming back every week, thank you so much. You know, I love you guys, and I really appreciate it. So let's just jump in with a lot of housekeeping. First of all, the exciting thing is that we reached 1,300 subscribers, so I am hosting a 1,300 subscriber giveaway. To enter, please go over to the Ravelry group. You do need to be a member of the group and be subscribed to the podcast. And I would ask of you to find the thread that says 1,300 subscriber giveaway and answer the question. And the question is, what would you like to see more of in future podcasts? So I'd really love some feedback, some ideas from you guys. And of course, you can win something really awesome. And this piece of hair is driving me nuts. And what you will win is, first of all, a set of stitch markers by Knitting in France with Boga, and she has a lovely Etsy store of yarn and stitch markers, and lots of really handy knitting gadgets. You will also get this stitch holder, which prevents stitches from falling off your needles when you're storing them in a project bag, and this is probably my favorite one with the chocolate. Next, Barbara of Knitting I Love has donated this package, which is a coaster, which also serves as a needle gauge, so you can see all the holes can be used to measure your needles. And with this coaster you get this little gadget, which is perfect to hold your progress keepers and stitch markers. So I have one of these, I have two of these, and I use them all the time. And she also included a couple of stitch markers that she made herself. And these can be used as either stitch markers or progress keepers. So thank you to Barbara and Boga for donating these prizes. And of course, we need some yarn, so I am donating this skein of indie-dyed German yarn. This is by a German indie dyer that I've tried twice and really liked. She's called Strickoholic, and she's on Davanda, and I will link her shop in the show notes. And this is from my stash, but I just thought this would be the perfect prize because it is sparkly. It's a sparkly sock yarn, and it is really crazy. As you can see, it has all these speckles and flecks and crazy colors, and I think this will make a really fun pair of socks. And I'm just assuming that if you like this podcast, you know that I like crazy colors, so I'm just assuming that you might like this as well. So yes, one person will win all of this, so you'll have enough stitch markers to last your lifetime, and a pair of socks, and some useful knitting gadgets. So I will keep the thread open for about 2 weeks, but I don't have a set date when I will close it. So I would suggest, if you really want to win this, and I hope you do, why don't you just pause it right now and go over to the Ravelry group, enter into the giveaway, and then I will announce it in not the next episode, but the one after. And I will, of course, ship this worldwide, so wherever you are, you will get this package. So I really hope that you'll like it and you'll be excited about this giveaway. And yeah, the next thing that I wanted to mention is a coupon code that we have for the Etsy store Nalibes, which is spelled Nalibes. And with the code HAPPY10, happy being all capitals and 10, 10, you will get 10% off her store until the end of September. Next, we have the Treat Yourself cowl, which also runs until the end of September. I showed the physical prices last week, and all the pattern prices are linked in the chatter thread. I did want to mention them today, but my internet doesn't work, so that's why I'm not mentioning them. I'm sorry about that. The point is to treat yourself with some super nice yarn that feels very special to you, and maybe you haven't dared to use it before, because I think we all have these sort of special skeins that are too special to knit with. So I'm just encouraging you guys to do treat yourself and knit with them, and maybe get something that you've always wanted and knit a fun project. And for this cowl, you can knit as many projects as you want, as long as you can somehow explain to me why that yarn is special to you. And yeah, we have an FO thread and a chatter thread, so if you don't think you'll be able to finish in time, you can just chatter along, and that will already enter you to win some prizes. The last thing that I wanted to address is questions. I get a lot of questions, and that's fine. I actually have a Ask Away thread on Ravelry, which is exactly for that. You can ask me questions about me, about my knitting. But what I'm realizing at the moment is that a lot of people are asking me questions about information, such as needles, colorways, yarns, patterns, and that is totally fine. I totally don't mind that at all, and I'm not trying to discourage you from that, but I am realizing that a lot of times it would be a lot quicker for both of us if you could just check out my show notes and project pages instead, because while I don't mind answering questions, often it is a thing about time changes and time zones, and also I just get behind. And sometimes I don't see your comments maybe on Instagram and all that, so I try to keep really good project pages. I always have all the yarns and the colorways and the needles and all of that listed in my project page, so I can just encourage you to go over there or use the project the episode threads with the show notes to click on the project that you're interested in, and maybe you can find the information there, and I feel like you would get your answers a lot quicker rather than ask me in person. So I hope you understand. That's totally not to say that I don't want you to ask me anything anymore. That's not what I'm trying to say at all. I've just really been noticing that lately, and I want to make this as easy as possible for you guys. With that, I think we should jump into finished objects. So my first finished object I am wearing, and that is my Because I Love You wrap from Amy Meeks. She's inked indigo and half of the Periscoping Sisters podcast, and I absolutely love this pattern. I knit it for the first time as part of the Treat Yourself cowl, and I'm really enjoying it. The yarn that I used was Madeline Tosh Merino Light, which is a single space. This colorway is El Greco, and this colorway is Electric Rainbow. So I think it came out really nicely. As you can see, it is very huge, but I don't want to take it off right now because I have my microphone attached to it. I'm waiting for it to cool down because it has been quite hot, but my apartment is relatively cool today, so that's why I decided to wear it for the podcast. This has been really fun, and I've enjoyed the knit a lot. I think this is a great pattern to use, two colors, because I think basically anything will work with this kind of pattern, so I think I'll definitely knit it again. I used 3.5mm needles, which is one size down from what the pattern suggests, simply because I like to knit everything on 3.5. And it worked really well, and like I said, the shawl is still massive. It is way bigger than my wingspan, so it didn't affect the size too much, I don't think. So that's my first work in progress, my first finished object, and I'm doing that thing where I'm out of breath again. My next finished object is, of course, a pair of socks. These are my scrappy socks. So this is what they look like. I had some leftover sock yarn, and I just used magic knots to tie them together. I used 5 grams per color, so 5 grams per stripe. And as you can see, they're pretty much matchy. And there are plenty of tutorials online about magic knots if you are wondering about that. Those two yarns are Bärenwolle. The pink one is Princess, and the more colorful speckled one is called Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds. And then this one is from Shebot Garne, and the colorway is called Wild Thing. And I did contrasting heels with a mini from a lovely friend from Finland who gave me this Finnish sock yarn, and I just thought it worked really well. I had 60 grams of yarn in total, minus the heels, so I just knit them toe up, 2 at a time, and tried to get them as long as possible. So this is how much I got of a leg, considering I have quite big feet. So I used 64 stitches on a size 1 2.25 millimeter needle. And I'm really liking these. I think scrappy projects are so fun, and I used up every last scrap of yarn with this, which brings me a lot of happiness. So these are my finished objects for this week, and I will move on to works in progress. First of all, I'll show you my sock yarn blanket, because somehow I completely forgot to show that to you last week. So to give you an idea, this is kind of what the whole thing looks like. And in the last 2 weeks, I've done almost a row. So when I last showed this to you, I was knitting on this square, which is a West Yorkshire spinners square. This one is from Nalibes, who I mentioned before. This one is really pretty, but I have no idea who it is by. This one is a Wollmeise mini. This one is from Next Yarn, who I believe is a German firm, but I might be wrong. This was my last mini of Miss Mothballs on Etsy. She sent me a couple, and I actually really like this colorway. This one, I don't know what it is. I really like the color, obviously, but I don't know what it is. Then this one is quite special. This one is from Richard de Vries, and I've been dying to try his yarns, so the fact that I got a mini from a friend is really, really great. This one, I think, is just a Regia or Opal or something like that. And this last one is also a commercial sock yarn, but I don't actually quite know what it is. Not because people didn't label them, but because I lose the labels all the time. So yeah, I've made quite a bit of progress, and again, all the details on what I'm doing are on my project page. So feel free to check them out. I'm really enjoying my blanket lately. It's like whenever I don't really know what I want to knit on, I just knit a couple of squares and they go quite fast and they're really fun. I'm also thinking that this is actually becoming sort of like a blanket size now. So maybe I could finish this in winter, and that would be really, really amazing. Even though I would immediately start a new one, because these things are just so fun. I always want to have one of these on my needles. So yeah, that's my sock yarn blanket. And I did take off my shawl because it was getting too hot. And also I felt like I was somehow messing with the microphone, so I hope that the quality will now be better. My coffee is cold by now, but I don't care. So, works in progress. I have a few works in progress, some of them new, some of them old. First, let's talk about the socks that I'm knitting. So last week I showed you my Hermione's Everyday socks, and the yarn that I was using for that was again from Miss Mothballs, who is a German Etsy store and indie dyer. This is her logo, and the yarn that I'm using is on her Tweedy Feet base, and it's called Raspberry Cheesecake, which is awesome. So this is what the yarn looks like. As you can see, it has these sort of Tweedy flecks and random yarn attached to it. It is definitely a sturdy sock yarn, but I do really, really like the space. I would definitely knit with it again. And I have a hoe. So this is the first sock that I knitted, and this is the Hermione's Everyday Sock pattern, which is a free pattern on Ravelry by Erika Lüder. And you can see the stitch marker, the pink stitch marker, of course, is where I was last week. So I did a 2x2 rib. And then I just followed the Hermione's Everyday Sock pattern, and I did a heel. I put in a Fish Lips Kiss heel, which is my standard heel. And then I just knit the foot, so I did the pattern on the front, but obviously not on the back. And I think this yarn looks really, really nice in stockinette as well. And then Kitchener the toe. So I have a hoe, and I just started the ribbing for the second one, so I did finish the 20 rows of ribbing this morning, and now I'm ready to start the patterning again. I'm really happy about these. I think these are going to make a great pair of selfish socks for me. And yeah, they're really pretty red. I think this colorway just knits up so nicely. And I have another skein of her yarn in stash, so I'm really excited to try that one as well. And I'm doing 64 stitches on a US size 1 2.25 millimeter needle. Staying on the topic of socks, I cast on another pair of socks because I just love socks and I needed a happy cast on, and the yarn that I'm using is actually called Happy. So I'm using yarn from Das Wolkenschaf, who is a German indie dyer again. I feel like I have lots of German dyed yarn today, which is great. Colorway, hang on, this is the wrong tag. I'll show you the right label, but this is the right colorway tag because this colorway is called Happy. And I've knit some of her sock yarn before, and she has two different bases. She has a standard sort of sock yarn and a sock yarn called Merino Mix, which is a merino nylon blend, which is just a lot softer. And I do like both of her bases, but this one is definitely my favorite. And so far I've only knit with it for my boyfriend. So I cast on a pair for myself. And how amazing is this colorway? It is just amazing color, an amazing color, and I absolutely love this base. I feel like I could knit on this base for the rest of my life and be totally content because it is very nice and soft and squishy. And I don't know what it is about that base, but I feel like it creates really, really pretty sort of three-dimensional looking stitches. So I'm just knitting a vanilla sock on 64 stitches on a US size 1 needle. I did a twisted rib for 20 rows, and I twisted only the knit stitches and not the post stitches. And yeah, so I'm just knitting along with this, and I'm really, really enjoying it so far. I just really needed a selfish, happy cast on, and this one is called Happy, and my podcast is the Happy Knitting Podcast, so that just made a lot of sense. So yeah, that's my second pair of socks that I'm working on at the moment. And I dropped the project bag somewhere. See, this is how I lose labels, because I have everything everywhere once I've podcasted. Next, I'll show you my Brioche project, which I showed you last week. And I'll show you the yarns first. I'm again using yarn from Wolkenschaf. This one is in her 100% merino base. It's a 4-ply. And the cake is kind of falling apart by now. But this is again the same firm, but the colorway is called Lena, L-E-N-A. And I'm pairing this one with this yarn from Hedgerow Yarns, who is a UK-based indie dyer, and possibly one of my favorite indie dyers at the moment, because her yarn is just so gorgeous. You can maybe see there's lots of sparkle in here. This is her Twinkly Toe sock base. It is superwash merino nylon and silver stellina, and the colorway is Nightshade, and it has all these really pretty flecks of color, and it actually really picks up on the purple in this one. So I'm knitting a pattern called Le Milieu, or the Squishy Shawl by Mina Phillip. I'm sure you've heard of it before. And this is the first brioche pattern that I've ever knitted. And yeah, as you can see, I've made quite a lot of progress. The progress keeper is where I was last week. And yeah, I'm just flying through this because it is very, very mindless once you get the hang of brioche. This is very easy. I can only really, really, really recommend Mina's tutorial. There's plenty of tutorials out there. I only watched hers, but that was perfect, and that completely got me set for brioche, and I haven't had any issues with it so far. So yeah, it is not huge yet, but you can definitely see it's growing, and this is the back side. There's not really a front and back in brioche, but I just kind of, yeah, I feel like this is the front and this is the back. And I think these yarns are working together really, really well. Both of them are sort of luxurious, soft, fine fingering weights. And I think they're working together really well, and you can see how squishy it is. So no issues with the pattern at all. I'm really, really enjoying it, to the point where I think I always want to have one of these on the needles, because first of all, to wrap yourself in autumn and fall, this is the perfect project because it is so squishy and it creates such a lovely fabric. And also because it's kind of like sock knitting. Once you get the hang of it, it is very, very mindless. So I'm just really having fun with this, and I'm already thinking about the next color combination that I can use for this, or how I could modify it and put some more patterning in this sort of basic pattern. And yeah, I'm really, really enjoying it. I'm knitting this on 3.5mm needles, which is one size down from what Mina recommends. But yeah, I just like knitting in 3.5mm, which is a US size 4, by the way. And the fabric is quite loose, so I don't think it matters at all. So I like the gauge that I'm getting with this needle size. So yeah, that's my squishy shawl. And because I love brioche so much, I started a new brioche project. But before I talk about that, I'll talk about my acquisition first, because then it makes more sense. So I got this book. I wanted to get a book on brioche because I know there's lots of tutorials, but I just like some things in books. I'm old-fashioned. So this is Knitting Fresh Brioche by Nancy Merchant, who is sort of like the queen of brioche. She has so many beautiful brioche patterns, and I believe she has like craftsy classes and all that. But like I said, I just really wanted something black and white on paper. So I got this book, and I think this is the second one in her brioche series. So the first one goes more into the technique, while this one has more sort of two-colored brioche patterns. So it says here it has 75 stitch patterns and 12 wrap and scarf patterns, and she gives lots of really useful information about different cast-ons and repairing mistakes and all that. And then she has all these amazing stitch patterns in here. So these are just stitch patterns, and you can use them for whatever you want. And then in the back she also has 12 patterns, and I'll just show you this picture because I think it shows them really, really nicely. They're all sorts of sort of accessory patterns. In fact, the one in the front is already so beautiful. I really want to knit that one. And I'm really bad at showing patterns. I thought about making this one. And they're all on Ravelry. They're listed, but I think you have to buy the book, and there's no ebook. I also really would like to knit this one because it looks really, really simple, but with this sort of leaf motif on the sides, it does have lots of interest. So this would be on the more mindless side as well. So yeah, I think I'll have so much fun with this book. And this inspired me to do a new cast on. So I decided to cast on a new pattern, and I couldn't really decide on what I wanted to knit. So rather than using one of her shawl or wrap patterns, I decided to use one of her stitch patterns and make up my own shawl. So the stitch pattern that I'm using is called Leafy and Lacy, and it is in her book, but it's not a proper like pattern. It is just a stitch pattern, like I said, with a chart, and you can use that for pretty much anything you want. So for those of you who've been asking for a pattern, unfortunately I can't really give you that much information, except that it's in that book. But it is sort of like a typical brioche pattern. It is also quite similar to the Sizzle Pop pattern in the way that it's knitting up. So yeah, unfortunately I can't give you an exact place where you can find that unless you want to buy the book. And anyways, I'm using two colors, of course, because it is two-color brioche. And I've been meaning to use this one for ages, and this one doesn't show up very well. It is more purple, but cameras generally seem to have a problem with purple. This is a skein of Knit Picks Hawthorn, which I haven't tried before, and I got this as part of the, what's it called, that sort of Christmas Instagram thing where you said what you'd like to try and people sent that to you, and you're giving each other presents. Well, one lovely person sent me this skein of yarn, and I've been treasuring it and not using it. And this is Knit Picks Hawthorn, which is a 2-ply superwash fine Highland wool and polyamide. And the colorway is Goddess, and I'm using it together with a kind of more sturdy sock yarn. This is a indie-dyed German yarn. This is from Piratenwolle, and the colorway is called 483, and I don't think she kind of does regular colorways. I think she just kind of does whatever, and then once it's sold, it's sold. So I'm not sure if you might get this exact one again, but she has lots of similar colorways. And this is a 75-25 sock yarn, so it's a little bit more sturdy than this one, but I just thought that those go together really, really nicely. So I used Nancy Merchant's Leafy Lacy pattern, and I used the second version because she had two with different sort of variations on the decreases. And this is what I've done so far. So I'm knitting 4 repeats of the patterning. So I cast on 75 stitches, and I'm just working that stitch pattern. So I think it is absolutely really, really, really beautiful, if I may say so myself. I did learn so much from this. In the beginning it was quite difficult, and with the different leaning decreases I had some issues because one of them felt very sort of unnatural to me, but I really got used to them, and I really experimented a lot with this, and yeah, I have learned so much. So this is the front, and this is the back. So it's not fully reversible, but I think it does look really pretty on both sides. And again, with the brioche, it is quite stretchy, and yeah, I really, really like it. I'm not sure if I'm going to continue in this pattern or if I'm going to maybe kind of play with it and experiment and put in some variations of that. I'm not really quite sure. I'm also not sure if I'm going to just knit this and then turn it into a cowl, or if I'll knit it longer and then actually have some sort of really long stow wrap sort of thing. I'm not quite sure what this is going to be, but I think it is really pretty and I'm really enjoying it. I've made lots of mistakes on here, I will be honest. Once I actually did a whole knit row when I was supposed to purl, so I was thinking about going back, but I only realized it a lot later, and I'm okay with thinking back in brioche now. I kind of got the hang of that, but that would have been a lot of thinking back, so I just left it and you totally don't see it at all. And yeah, I've like dropped stitches when I was doing increases and doing all sorts of really stupid things, but I really learned that if you just look at the stitches and look how they're supposed to look, fixing brioche is not actually that hard. So yeah, huge learning curve for me. I'm really enjoying it. It's funny because I'm again using fingering weight yarns, but this one feels a lot more sort of, it feels thicker and stuff than the other one, which it's probably just because the yarns are a little bit more sturdy compared to this one. But anyways, I'm really, really liking these, and of course this one with the patterning takes a lot longer, but I have memorized the pattern finally. I think it took me like 8 repeats to finally memorize it completely. And it is a sort of 3-row repeat. Well, you knit every row twice, but you basically do 1 row of the pattern, and then you obviously knit that row again, and then you have the 2 wrong side rows, which are pretty much rest rows if you get the hang of brioche. So it is manageable, and like I said, I try to do 1 repeat a day, but so far I've been doing a little bit more, which is good because I do want to get some progress, and I think I need to knit this for quite a while if I want it to be a wrap. And again, I'm using 3.5mm needles. These are my Knit Per Nova cubics, and I'm quite liking them for this project. I'm actually really happy with them. So I think again this is going to be a really squishy sort of fall project, and it's going to look really amazing, whatever it turns out to be. And I'm sorry, I hope you can't hear. I'm constantly like clanking my needles on my desk. I really hope you can't hear that. And this one is living in the project bag that I made last week. I showed you last week. I didn't do any sewing or spinning this week. In fact, I didn't even wash and skein up the hand spun that I showed you last week. I've just been too busy. So yeah, that's it for my works in progress, I believe. I think I've showed you everything. I've already talked about the brioche book, which was supposed to be my only acquisition for this week, but I do have one now because a parcel from Bärenwolle arrived. Lovely Vicky, she had a speckled surprise club, which was sort of like a sock yarn club sort of thing. And I signed up and it arrived, so I will show that to you. If you haven't seen it yet and you have ordered it, please look away because I will show the colorway. I actually saw a spoiler photo on Instagram, but it was right after mine arrived, so it wasn't too bad. But that's why I didn't post mine on Instagram. So I went into this thinking that whatever Vicky dyes up, I will totally love, and yeah, I wasn't disappointed. So I'll show it now. Look away if you don't want to see it. Dun da da da! So this is the skein that she sent me. It was not really what I expected, to be honest. I expected something more like rainbowy, and this is crazy, but this is kind of crazy in a different way that I expected it to be. But I do really like it. So I'll show you her logo first. This is Bärenwolle. She's based in Germany. And basically everything she touches is just beautiful. This is her barefoot sock base, which is an 80% extra fine merino, 20% polyamide. And her sock base is crazy soft. Like, I think it's probably the softest base that I've ever seen, but it still holds up really well. So I've knit a couple of pairs of socks out of her yarn, and they're holding up really, really well. So you can see it's sort of like turquoise sort of color, and then it has crazy speckles in here, for example, like lots of orange. And I did take the skein apart to look at the speckles, to be honest, because I just wanted to look at it. And then this sort of crazy neon green these are sort of combinations that I would never think of, but I think it's going to make a really, really fun pair of socks. And yeah, probably not what I would have bought, just because I wouldn't tend to these colors. But I'm really happy I have it, just because it's fun to try new things, and that's sort of the point of yarn clubs, is to, like, if you already know what you're getting, you know, you don't need a yarn club. So I'm really happy with this, and this will go into my stash. And it smells good. And funnily enough, I feel like this is somehow connected to some news that I will share in my life section. But before I go into life in general, I wanted to just mention where you guys can actually find me. So if you okay, slow down, Julia. We have a Ravelry group for this podcast, which is called the Happy Knitting Podcast Group, and that's where you'll find the giveaway. So please don't forget to join. And in that thread, we also have the show notes. So I will post a thread for every episode, and I will link all my projects. I will try to link all of the dyers that I mentioned. And if I do forget someone, just please ask. And then we have a Ask Away. Did I say already that we have an Ask Away thread? And I have a thread about German indie dyes. So if you're interested in German indie dyes, because there are so many, please feel free to check that out. Then there is a shameless self-promotion thread. So if you're a maker of any kind, please feel free to post in there. And if you do want to be enabled, it is a perfect place to look, because there's some beautiful things in there. And yeah, that's probably more threads than that. All the knit-along threads are in there as well. So just have a look, and I would love to see you there. You can also find my personal Ravelry, which is Wipfi, and that is spelled Wuepfi. And again, feel free to message me with whatever you feel like. I love hearing from you, even if you just want to say hi. What else? I feel like I'm really out of it today. And you can find me on Instagram as the Happy Knitting Podcast, so that should be relatively easy to find. And again, when I post on Instagram, I really try to post the pattern and the yarn that I'm using. So if I'm posting a hashtag with a pattern, that is the pattern that I'm using. Yeah, and I'm out of breath. I think I've just been stressing out too much with this whole thing today, which is ridiculous. So yeah, those are the places where you can find me. And yeah, I love to hear from you guys, so feel free to get in touch whenever you want to. So let's talk about life in general. This week I've been pretty social. I've been meeting up with lots of friends, which has been great. We also managed to see our friends who got married a couple of weeks ago before they moved back to Berlin. So that was really, really nice, but also sad, because I feel like lots of friends I have are actually from Munich, but now live in Berlin. And this also goes for the online community. I feel like half of the knitters in Germany that I know live in Berlin. But anyways, it's been a good week. Thesis-wise, I've made lots of progress. This is hard to explain. I feel like I'm doing really well, and I've solved a lot of problems, but then with one of the big ones, I'm not quite sure if I've solved it or if I'm just messing up even more. So I'm a little bit unsure about that, but generally it's going very well, and I'm pretty certain I can hand that in a couple of weeks. And that is definitely a good thing, because the exciting news is that we booked a holiday. So I should go back a bit. I'm not sure if I ever talked about it that much. If so, in the very first episodes of my podcast. I love to travel, and I've been doing lots of travels. I first spent almost a year in Australia when I was 15. So I think from that age onwards, I always wanted to go places and discover new places and meet people from other places and so on. And after that, I spent a few times. After that, I went to Southeast Asia a couple of times. I did some volunteer work in Vietnam and Thailand, which was amazing. I also did a couple of backpacking trips, which was really, really great. And travel has also always been a thing for me and my boyfriend together. For example, when we met, I was about to finish my bachelor's degree in psychology, and I had for months and months planned this huge backpacking trip around Indonesia and Malaysia, because that's just the way I am. When I have, lots of stress and stuff, what I do is I plan a holiday, and I was working my butt off in university and with my barista job that I was working at the same time, and this holiday was sort of the only thing that I was working towards. So when we met each other, we knew that I was going to go away, and I think we knew each other for 2.5 months when Kai decided to book a holiday. And it's like, well, I just think we're going to be together at that time, so why don't I book a plane ticket to Malaysia and meet you there? And we did, and lots of people thought that was a little bit crazy, but it worked out. And so we traveled very early on in our relationship, and last year we went to Vietnam, which again was amazing. And it's just one of the things that we really enjoy to do together. So, yeah, travel is really important to both of us. And this year we both kind of decided that probably it's not going to happen just because we had the move, we had my boyfriend's job search, and obviously I'm graduating, so I should be focusing on, you know, finishing my degree, and then obviously I need to find a job and all that. So a big travel thing was never in our plans for this year, which I think I kind of accepted. I mean, we went on our 5-day trip to Germany, within Germany, which was quite nice. And I mean, you don't always have to do something fancy. But now there comes the big but. My boyfriend was actually approached by human resources in his firm, and they said, please take your holiday days because you have so many, and he's been working so many extra hours as well. It is really, really ridiculous. So they pushed him to take a holiday, which is amazing. And yeah, we were kind of talking about it, but not really sure what to do about it because I can't really plan my life very well at the moment. But then we decided, why not just go for it? Because essentially, you never know what's going to happen, and I have no idea what's going to happen next year. I mean, it might be difficult for both of us to get holidays at the same time because I'll hopefully be working. I mean, it would be really bad if I wasn't working. And timing wise, I'll be finishing with university for good, so it also kind of makes sense to reward ourselves. And we had a really tough year, which I don't mean in a complaining way at all. It's just been lots of changes and lots of stress. So essentially, within a time frame of 2 hours last Saturday, we talked and we decided, let's go to Thailand. So we booked a trip to Thailand, and we chose Thailand because I'd been there before. I've been to the north of Thailand, which is where I worked for a couple of weeks and then traveled. But I've never seen the south of Thailand, and I really liked it the first time I was there. I loved the food, I loved the people. I have very, very rudimentary Thai skills. And we really just wanted to go somewhere warm with amazing food and, spend some time on the beach and all that. So we decided to book a trip to Thailand. So that's what we did last night. And it was very spontaneous. In fact, it was so spontaneous that I'm still kind of wrapping my head around the idea. But we're going to be in Thailand for 3 weeks, or almost 3 weeks. We have booked our flights, but nothing but, because I think we're going to do it pretty spontaneously. I imagine we might book an accommodation for maybe the first 2 nights or something, just to have somewhere to start. But then we've always kind of traveled that way, where we just figure stuff out as we go along. So yeah, kind of backpacking style, and I'm really, really, really excited about it. I can't stop talking about it to everyone because I'm just so looking forward to that holiday, and I think it's going to do us so good. And we're just going to stuff ourselves with Thai food, and yeah, and I feel like November is the perfect time to go because I mean, November is usually pretty rainy and cold and stuff, but it's not yet Christmas because I love Christmas. But that way we'll have, some nice, warm, beachy holidays, and when we get back, it'll almost be Christmas. So that'll be amazing, and I'm super, super excited about it. And like I said, I think we both sort of have this philosophy that with travels, you should just do it when you can because you never know what's going to happen. And, there are surely going to be times when we won't be able to travel as much, and at some point, when you have a family and stuff, it's going to be a lot more complicated anyway. So, yeah, we're just taking advantage of this possibility, and we're going to be in Thailand. So I'm beyond excited about that, and the fact that it happened so fast also kind of blows my mind. But yeah, I think it works out really well because I should be well finished with my thesis by then, and even if I am not, which all hell would have to break loose and like the world would have to collide. But if the world does collide, even when we get back, I theoretically still have time until I have my deadline. So I think I'm playing it relatively safe, and yeah, I'm planning to finish in the next couple of weeks, and then our flight is in a little bit less than 7 weeks, and it should be amazing. What was really funny is that I kind of decided or said I might not even bring any knitting because I might just take a complete break. And then it was actually my boyfriend who said, oh no, you can't do that, take a couple of socks, take some knitting. And I just thought that the dynamic was really funny, that I'm the crazy knitter, but yet he is the one encouraging me. So yeah, obviously the podcast is going to take a little bit of a break, but I'm just assuming that you guys won't mind, and I'll try to film lots of little fun videos, and yeah. So that's our exciting news for the week, which is good. And yeah, in the end, I think everything worked out really, really well, and now I'm even more motivated to finish my thesis, but I'm starting to, get more of a feeling for how much time I will actually need to finish it, and I'm not really stressed out by it anymore. So yeah, everything is going really well. The only thing that's really bugging me is the internet thing. I've taken a couple of breaks while recording this podcast, trying to set it all up, and it's still not working, and this sort of thing is just really a nightmare for me. I'm not good with that sort of stuff. I just want things to work so I can, do whatever I want. But doesn't anyone? So anyways, that's it for life in general. Last but not least, I really just want to once again thank you guys for being so amazing. I feel like I've grown so much with this podcast, and this podcast has changed and developed as well, and I'm just continually amazed by the amount of support and knowledge I get from this community. I've made some great friends, and also I just love it how when I post a question on Instagram, within minutes you guys will give me amazing answers and help me out, and that's the same thing that I'm trying to do for you guys. I just want to put some fun knitting content out there, and maybe you'll be inspired. So to those of you who've been watching and subscribing for a long time, thank you so much for the ongoing support, because I don't even dare to look at my old episodes anymore. I think they're so terrible and I can't stand watching them. And for those of you who joined me recently, I also really, really appreciate that. And yeah, I really hope that you'll keep watching and that this podcast will just keep growing, because I love the interaction, because I love hosting knit-alongs. I love doing reviews for other businesses and helping you guys promote what you're making, because yeah, there's so much amazing stuff out there, and in the end we all share our hobbies, which is just so much fun. So with that, I hope you guys have an amazing week. You're doing super, super well, and happy knitting. I'll see you next week. Bye.